99% of guys ruin attraction in the first 3 seconds after they talk. Can you spot it when you're doing it? 1. There's a moment right after you say something to a woman that most guys completely blow. The 3 seconds after the words leave your mouth, where her brain is deciding what you actually meant. Most men feel that silence was more talking, more explaining, more justifying, and they call the exact thing they were trying to create. The words themselves matter less than what happens in the gap right after. If you can sit in that silence without flinching, without over-explaining, without needing her to react immediately, you're doing something 95% of men can't do. That silence is where the real message lands. Oh, here's something nobody tells you. The phrase that makes a woman think about you all day is a romantic adult. It's not, I love you. It's not, you're beautiful. It's something so simple you'd walk right past it in a normal conversation. It works because it doesn't ask her for anything back. No response needed, no pressure to react a certain way. Her brain keeps trying on it precisely because it wasn't a question, wasn't a demand, wasn't fishing for a compliment back. That's the whole trick. Statements that don't need answers are the ones that echo the longest. 3 women's brains are wired to replay unfinished things way more than finished ones. It's called the zygote effect, and it explains almost everything about attraction that confuses men. A compliment that's fully wrapped up gets forgotten in 10 minutes, but a sentence that tears off, that implies more than it says, that leaves one tiny piece open, that one stacks around for hours. This is why the guy who says less but says it with intention ends up living rent-free in her head, while the guy who explains everything gets forgotten by dinner. If this is already heading different, there are 2 red hearts in the comments right now, so I know you're locked in. Let's keep going. 4. There's a specific kind of attention that reads as rare instead of needy, and almost nobody gets the formula right. It's not about ignoring her, and it's not about something her either. It's about giving full undivided focus and short, immense bursts, then pulling back completely. Her brain interprets that rhythm as high value because scarcity plus intensity is exactly how the brain feels something as important. Constant level of attention gets filtered out as background noise. Intermittent focused attention gets stored as a memory she keeps returning to on her own. 5. Most guys think validation means telling a woman she's pretty, funny, or smart, but real validation is a way more specific and a way more rare. It's noticing something about her that she didn't say out loud. A mood shift, a small habit, the way she handles the situation differently than most people would. When you name something true about her that she didn't point out herself, it hits completely differently than a generic compliment. It tells her you were actually paying attention, not just waiting for your turn to talk. And that kind of specific noticing is almost impossible to fake. Since there's a reason women remember how a conversation ended more than how it started. It's called the recency effect, and it's brutal if you don't know about it. You can have an amazing hour together, but if the last 2 minutes are awkward, rushed, or flat, that's what sticks in her memory the strongest. This means the exit is more important than the entrance every single time. Ending on a high note, even a short one, requires how the whole interaction gets fired away in her mind, turning an average conversation into what she's saying back unfriendly. What's the one touch most men escape that makes her fall hardest? 7. Texting too fast is one of the most common ways men accidentally kill attraction without realizing it. When you reply instantly every single time, you're removing all the anticipation. And anticipation is what actually builds desire, not constant contact. Slightly delayed response isn't about playing games. It's about giving her brain room to wander, to check her phone, to feel that small bit of anticipation before your name pops up. Speed signals availability, and availability, ironically, signals a lower value. Slowing down just slightly can completely shift how eager she is to hear from you. 8. One of the most underrated moves in any relationship is asking a question and then actually staying quiet for the answer. Most people ask a question and immediately start planning their next sentence instead of really listening. Women pick up on this instantly. They can feel when someone's waiting to talk versus when someone's actually absorbing what they're saying. When you ask something and then go fully silent, letting her finish completely before responding, it creates a level of trust that fast, reactive conversations never build. Silence, used correctly, is one of the strongest tools in a conversation. 9. There's a specific kind of teasing that builds attraction fast, and it's not about being mean or sarcastic. It's about playful disagreement. When you gently push back on something she says instead of agreeing with everything, it signals confidence and independent thinking. Constant agreement reads as people-pleasing, and people-pleasing kills attraction almost instantly. But playful pushback delivered with warmth instead of edge creates a little bit of tension that keeps the conversation alive. The key is doing it lightly with a smile in your voice, not as a way to prove a point. 10. Physical touch that isn't sexual is one of the most powerful and most underused tools in building real connection. A hand on the shoulder, a brief touch on the arm while making a point, a high five that lingers half a second longer than usual. These tiny moments build comfort and familiarity way faster than words do. The trick is keeping it casual and brief so it never feels like an agenda. When touch is light, natural, and non-demanding spells trust on illegal conversation alone can't reach, and it makes every future interaction feel warmer. Are you accidentally carrying attraction in the first 30 seconds? 11. Women often say they want a man who's mysterious, but what they really need is a man who isn't an open book from the very first conversation, or sharing everything about yourself immediately removes all the curiosity that makes someone interesting to get to know. Holding a few things back naturally, not out of manipulation, but just out of not feeling the need to explain your entire life story right away keeps her curious. Curiosity is one of the strongest drivers of attraction, and it only survives when there's still something left to discover. 12. The way you handle a disagreement says more about you than almost anything else you do in a relationship. Most people either avoid conflict completely or get defensive and dig in immediately, and both reactions read as weakness over time. Staying calm, actually listening to the complaint instead of defending yourself right away, and validating her feelings before explaining your side builds massive trust. It shows emotional control, which subconsciously reads as strength. Women consistently name this as one of the biggest differences between men they respect long-term and men they eventually lose interest in. 13. There's a specific kind of compliment that lands 10 times harder than the usual "you look nice," and it's about noticing effort instead of outcome. Instead of commenting on how something looks, comment on the fact that she genuinely put thought into it. The color choice, the way she plans something out, the care behind a small gesture. This shifts the compliment from surface level to something that acknowledges her as a person with intention, not just an appearance to be judged. People remember being seen far more than they remember being flattered. 14. Consistency is one of the least talked about but most powerful things you can bring into a relationship. It's not about being predictable in a boring way. It's about being the same person whether you're in a good mood or a bad one, whether things are going well or falling apart. We will pick up incredibly fast on whether someone's warmth is conditional or constant, and conditional warmth creates anxiety even if nobody says that out loud. When your energy stays steady regardless of circumstances, it creates a sense of safety that becomes one of the most attractive qualities a person can have over time. What are you doing wrong without even realizing it? 15. Humor works completely differently than most men think it does. It's not about telling the best joke in the room. It's about being able to laugh at yourself without getting defensive or insecure about it. When you can poke fun at your own flaws or mistakes without flinching, it signals a level of self-security that's incredibly rare and incredibly attractive. Women notice this constantly. Men who need to look perfect all the time read as insecure, while men who can laugh at their own missteps read as genuinely confident, which is a completely different energy that pulls people asking instead of pushing him away. 16. Timing matters more than people realize when it comes to bringing up anything emotional or important. Bringing up a serious topic when someone's exhausted, distracted, or stressed almost guarantees a worse reaction than the actual content deserves. Waiting for a calm, unhurried moment, even if it means holding on to something for a day or two, dramatically changes how a conversation gets received. This isn't about avoiding hard conversations, it's about giving them the best possible chance to land well, instead of sabotaging a good point by bringing it up at the worst possible time. 17. Small, unexpected gestures create more emotional impact than big, planned ones almost every single time. Surprise text checking in for no reason. Remembering a tiny detail from a conversation weeks ago. Showing up with something small that shows you were actually listening. These moments hit harder than expensive, obvious gestures because they weren't expected. Predictable romantic gestures start to feel like an obligation over time, while small random ones feel like genuine thoughtfulness. The element of surprise is doing most of the emotional work here, not the size of the gesture itself. Got a question about your own situation? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this helps you even a little, do yourself a favor and hit subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next. 18. The way you talk about other people when she is not around says more about your character than almost anything you'll ever tell her directly. If she notices you speaking respectfully about an ex, a coworker, or even a stranger who annoyed you, it was a quiet trust that you'll probably speak about her the same way when she is not in the room. Constant complaining or shocking other people even when it feels justified in the moment plants a small seed of doubt that most people don't even realize they're planting. Respect shown to others becomes evidence of how you treat her. 19. Genuine curiosity about someone's life asked without an agenda is rare than people think and instantly noticeable when it's real. Most conversations are secretly transactional. People ask questions to steer the topic back to themselves, asking a follow-up question purely because you're interested, with no plan to redirect it to your own story. Reads as completely different energy. It signals that you're actually invested in her as a person, not just waiting for your turn to talk about yourself. That kind of attention is incredibly rare, and rarity is exactly what makes people pay closer attention to you. 20. The biggest thing that separates men who build lasting attraction from men who burn out fast isn't charisma or looks, it's emotional regulation under pressure, staying grounded when things get tense, not reacting impulsively when triggered, and being able to communicate calmly even during disagreements is what actually builds long-term respect. anyone can be charming when things are easy. What creates real lasting attraction is being the same steady, secure person when things get hard. That steadiness, more than any line or trick, is what makes someone genuinely magnetic over time. This video breaks down 20 small physical backed shifts, how you talk, text, touch, and handle conflict that quietly build deep attraction. Most guys never notice. It's not about grand gestures or perfect lines. It's about tiny, specific habits that make you unforgettable. Stick around, because if you of these will completely change how you see your own conversations. What I actually mastered this, there's a video on your screen right now that breaks it all down. Go watch it before you scroll past.